Hey everybody, it's me, Stacey, licensed designer for Sizzix, Jacquard, and brand ambassador for Royal Talons. Hello everybody. Welcome to today's In the Studio with Stacey class, where we take fine art product and paper crafting products, we put them together, mash them together, and we make magic happen. Now, if this is the first time you're watching our classes, again, I'm Stacey and I'm the owner of Scrapbooking Made Simple. We're an independent store here in Canyon Country, California, but we also have scrapbookingmadesimple.com, and I am lucky enough to be the first paper crafter ever for Royal Talons North America as a brand ambassador. What does that mean? That means that I take classes about all these beautiful fine art products, and then I get the honor and privilege of taking what I've learned and sharing it with you. Now, why is that important? Well, as a paper crafter, I love to die cut and stamp and stencil and ink and create. And I've been, for the past 20 years, I'm used to using a certain level of product. And then all of a sudden, Royal Talons came into my life, gosh, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago. And lo and behold, I learned and continue to learn that fine art isn't the talent level of somebody, it's the quality of the product that you're using. And I learned that there's a different standard when using fine art product. Not that it's hoity-toity snooty, it's just better. I have acrylic paints from paper crafting companies, and I have acrylic paints from Royal Talons. And yes, there is a difference. There's watercolors from paper crafting companies that are beautiful and they do a fine job. But then there's watercolors from a fine art manufacturer where the quality is just higher. So how does this all play in together? I think it was my desire to play with some of this product and see if it would elevate my makes, my paper crafting makes, because that's what I am. I'm a paper crafter. So I started to learn and I started to play, and I found a few things to be true. One, there's a lot of product in the fine art world that I knew nothing about. Two, sometimes the product is less expensive than what I'm paying for what we're buying as a paper crafter in the paper crafting world. And three, everything will melt together. They merge, they blend, the two worlds don't have to stay separate. They can collide, and we can take something that's always been in a fine art store and elevate what we're doing. And maybe an artist who does it as a profession can learn about junk journaling or how to make a card so that they might be able to just sit down and decompress like we do when we craft. Ultimately, it all started from one creativity. Somebody had something in them that needed to come out, that creativity that needed to come out. You have it, I have it. Maybe you're a sculptor, maybe you knit, maybe you needlepoint, maybe you do stained glass work, maybe you do scrapbooking, maybe you do mixed media or altered art. Why wouldn't we want to use the best products we can if it's in the range of what we're comfortable with? Now, I'll tell you, some fine art product is kind of pricey. I just finished a month doing Fine Tech. Fine Tech is the most beautiful pearlescent, metallic, iridescent watercolor that you can find. There's just nothing better than Fine Tech. The company has been around since the late 1800s doing the same thing. Yes, it's kind of pricey, and you get what you pay for with them. That's the truth. Other things, you will find that fine art quality product is less than what you would think it is, and yet so much better. So when I started to play and really learn and understand and then become a brand ambassador, I wanted to make the two worlds come together. I wanted to draw in that fine art world for the rest of us who are paper crafters, and I wanted to show artists that you can do beautiful things and sit and make a lovely card for somebody. So each class is, or every month, it's a series of classes, and I focus on one type of product for the entire month. The first class is the education class. It's kind of the why fors, the how comes, the what nots, the all the questions you may have, or questions you may not even knew you needed to have answers to. So for the first day, the first class of the month is always more educational, and I play with the paints or whatever I'm using. But then the classes that follow in the month, the second week and the third week and the fourth week and sometimes the fifth week, we are making with that product, and we're taking it out of that art world and putting a perspective of a paper crafter on it, which is where eyebrows get raised. Artists will look at me and say, "Oh, what are you doing with the product?" And I'm like, "Oh, we're using it in our paper crafting world, and look, did you know that this product would do that?" Now, maybe they don't stamp or maybe they don't stencil, but now they know they could. And that's one of the themes of this whole series of classes throughout the year. Maybe some of these products aren't for you now, but maybe later you may go, "I wish I knew. Is there something out there that will do?" And you're like, oh wait, there's the In the Studio with Stacey class, and I remember Stacey talking about something like this. And these classes live on our YouTube channel in the Studio playlist forever. So we are into October, and that means the start of something brand new. September was Fine Tech. It was yummy. I was sad to see it go. Not that it's gone, it's just I have to move on to something new. So this month, we are starting with Amsterdam Liquid Acrylics. Amsterdam Acrylic Ink is what it's called. And I was so wrong about everything I thought this acrylic ink was. And I have to admit that because I just didn't know any better, and you don't know what you don't know until you know it. So Jeff, my mentor, I take classes with him, and it's been enlightening learning, okay, that's not what I thought. It's not even close, but let me see now, how do I translate this into something that is meaningful to my type of creating, my paper crafting. So today we are starting with Amsterdam Acrylic Ink. And we've done Amsterdam acrylic paints already this year. Amsterdam acrylic paint and Amsterdam acrylic ink are not the same thing. They're not close. I mean, they have some things that are in common, but Amsterdam acrylic ink is not a watered down version of Amsterdam acrylic paint. And that was the first thing, the first hurdle I had to get over. What do you mean? Isn't it just a thinner version of the paint? No. Let me tell you, I asked Jeff. Jeff is the director of brand ambassadors for Royal Talents. He's the director of education at Royal Talents. He is the guru. I asked Jeff the most odd questions when we are working together, because I see all of their product through a paper crafter's eyes, through a paper crafter's lens, where he is an artist, a true artist, and he sees this product through an artist's lens. And he's like, nobody's ever asked that before, Stacey. Great, let's learn together. So today it is about our Amsterdam acrylic ink. Now the bottle might look really familiar. It does look like the Ecoline watercolor ink. It absolutely does. Big difference, that red band across the top, that stands for Amsterdam. Amsterdam always has that red band across the top. And yes, it comes in a wide mouth bottle and it has its pipette, absolutely. But before we get into that, I want to talk to you about, like I said, the whys, the how comes, the what fors, the why nots of some of this product. You may have never heard of an acrylic ink before. I was not familiar with it. Now, I have my notes in front of me and I'm going to need to refer to them. There's a lot of information. So I'm going to get started and then we're going to tilt down and we're going to play with the colors a little bit. And then next week, I've got for, and we'll start at the beginning. We need to start at the very beginning because it's a very good place to start. Okay, so this is considered a hyperfluid acrylic. It is an acrylic, and we'll get into what that means. It is an ink that is an acrylic, and we're going to get into what that means, but it is a hyperfluid. So you can imagine when you say hyperfluid, you're thinking, ooh, where when we're talking about paint, it's not hyperfluid at all. The viscosity is incredibly different. And I just rolled that word viscosity right off my tongue. Well done, Stacey. So the binder in this is a thermoplastic. What is a thermoplastic? Something very similar to a plexiglass. So the binder is strong. It's super strong, like plexiglass. Now the binder thermoplastic came into, was it in the 1800s? It was in the middle 1800s, I think, late 1800s, that the thermoplastic was invented. But it took years for somebody to go, I wonder what happens if I mix thermoplastic and pigment. What's gonna make it happen? Well, ultimately what happened was paint, really paint for your house. Acrylic paint. It didn't start as artist paint, it started as acrylic paint for your house. That's another story. That goes back to this. So our ink is an emulsion. Now what's an emulsion? Well, that's where you'd have two products that do not like each other. They're fighting. Two different ingredients that fight. Kind of like oil and water. You put them together, no, they don't like each other, they fight. Then you add in a third ingredient, and that third ingredient smooths things over between the two that are fighting to where everything works well together. And so our acrylic ink is an emulsion ink. It has elements that don't necessarily like each other, but then the binder comes in and it just says, hey everybody, let's play nicely. And all of a sudden you have this beautiful fluidity of an ink that is gorgeous. The binder, as I said, the binder is it is a thermoplastic. It is resistant to moisture, so waterproof, absolutely. It has a better adhesion. This, just like a regular acrylic, an acrylic ink is going to adhere to almost anything that's grease-free. So even if you were working on paper or on plastic or on metal or on glass, you could add grounds. They call them grounds to different types of surfaces, and it's going to adhere, and it's going to resist moisture, and it's going to be waterproof. It is non-yellowing. So you're gonna come back if you do something and you put it in your house for a decoration, it's not going to turn that really yucky yellow color. The colors are going to stay true to what they are. And it is resistant to blistering and cracking. So if you are going to put something where there's some heat perhaps or outside, you're not going to find that with moisture the blistering and the cracking is going to happen. Ink, the ink. It is a CPV, critical pigment volume. Now that was something that was new to me. I'm like, critical pigment volume? What does that mean? Well, that tells you the level of the pigment that is put into these inks. This is a pigment-based ink. There is more pigment in these jars than in the paint. These are not the same. So we have critical pigment volume. It is the level of pigment added to the product, and this is exceptionally high. The more pigment, the better the color, the stronger the color. The more pigment, the less you need to use, the further the color will go. Yes, the less pigment, the more you have to add and keep painting over and over to achieve what you want. This is where that fine art versus paper crafting, this is where they kind of separate. Fine art is always going to have a higher quality of product because painters and fine artists, they depend upon it. If they are working on something and then they need to get another color of it, they need another oil or they need another watercolor, Van Gogh watercolor, they need to know that what they buy today will look the same 5 years from now, that the pigment will be identical, the formulation will be identical. So, really important from an art world and very nice to have in a paper crafting world. And I think one of the things that I can relate it to is when you go to buy cardstock. So I'm the owner of a store. I order cardstock all the time, and I'll order the exact same cardstock that I give them the same color, whatever it is, color 1, 2, 3, 4. I order it from the same manufacturer, the same color, and yet when it arrives, it's slightly different. It's not the same color we had last time. Maybe it's a little darker, maybe it's a little brighter. The dye lot has changed. That can't happen in fine art. That cannot happen in the art world. Artists have to be confident knowing that what they are using, they can replace with the exact same item, which is why in the art world, there's not this wow innovation moment. There's not a huge wow, they've just come out with this product, or wow, they've come out with that product. We find that in the paper crafting world a lot, like all the time. Somebody's coming up with something innovative. But what the art world does, what the art market does, is it holds its standard so that the paint you bought you didn't, the paint your grandma bought 100 years ago is going to be the same paint you can buy today. So we have critical pigment volume in these. It is amazing. It has more pigment in it than the paints themselves. So the light fastness of this product, it fluctuates, and I'm going to talk about light fastness just a little bit. Light fastness is what would happen if you put something that you made into a place that gets lots of light. How long will it take for the colors to fade? That's light fastness. In our world, the paper crafting world, dye-based inks have no light fast. My Jacquard inks, they're not light fast at all. Tims are not light fast at all. Most inks, all inks really in the paper crafting world, are more dye-based than pigment-based, and there is no light fastness to them at all. So with Royal Talons, they came up with a little chart, and you can see the little emblems on, I don't know if I can get this up there, but you can see the little emblems on the bottles, or whether it be I'm trying to, you know what, I'm gonna put my glasses on so I can see. They have a little box and they have little plus signs. Okay, it's right there. So I don't know if I can get this up close enough where you can see the little box and the little plus signs. So the little box stands for the opacity, and the plus signs stand for the light fastness. So on every one of the bottles, there'll be something that has a little box to tell you the opacity, and either 0, no pluses at all, 2 or 3 little plus signs. And each of those little things means something different. So if we were talking about light fastness, and this is again, if you're doing something that you want to stand the test of time, If you are looking at a bottle and it has 2 little pluses, that means it's 25 years to 100 years light fast. That means it's not going to fade for 25 to 100 years. If it has 3, that means it's at least 100 years before it will start to fade. What is one of the things that's different? Well, they call it a fugitive color. I'm like, fugitive? That sounds pretty, that's not, okay, what's a fugitive color? It's a fluorescent color. Fluorescent colors, no matter what range we're talking about with Royal Talons, they're not light fast at all. They're beautiful, but they're not light fast. They're a little bit more like what we have in our paper crafting world. And then there's the opacity. And the opacity is how well can you see through it? Is it transparent and you can see through it easy? Is it opaque and it lays down and puts a solid coat and you can't see anything that was underneath it? So all of these have some form of opacity. And you can see the chart right here. If it's an open box, it is completely transparent. If it's a box that has a dash, it's semi-transparent. If it's a box that has half of it filled in, that's semi-opaque. And if it's all the way filled in, that's opaque. And these are across the entire Royal Talons brands of products. It's not just for Amsterdam. Lots of things have these kind of designations on it so that you can go back and look. Our inks are waterproof when dry, so that they very much share with our paints. They're waterproof when dry. There's also a universal color system, kind of like our Eco line. So our Eco line liquid watercolors, whether you buy the jar, the marker, the colors are the same. If you buy jar 301 and marker 301, it is the same ink. Well, the colors, while the ink isn't, this is an ink and this is a paint, the colors are going to be the same so that you can work with the two of these if you chose to. Now I'm going to tilt down. I'm going to go and we're going to play a little bit, and I want to show you kind of what these look like and why they're a little different than what we're used to. And I'm going to say that for me, I didn't understand them. That's not uncommon for me. With a lot of this product, I don't understand some of it until I start to play with it. So I came in on Sunday and I sat for several hours. I had already had my classes and my mentoring. I sat for several hours and I just didn't expect anything. I played with it with zero expectations of I put away what it should do or what it could do or what it might do or what I wanted it to do. I put it all away and just let the product show me for itself how we're going to incorporate this into paper crafting. And by the time I was done, I have 6 classes for you, but I don't have 6 Tuesdays. Not sure how we're going to get this done, but we're going to get this done. So we're going to tilt down. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the working properties of an acrylic ink, Amsterdam acrylic ink, and what working properties mean. But I want to start playing with some of the colors. Oof, these glasses are dirty. And I want to kind of show you the difference between the paint and the liquid. So we're going to tilt on down. I know it's a lot of talking. The first week is always a lot of talking. But I want you to understand what it is you're looking at. And again, you may go, this may not be something for me today, but in 2 years, as your creativity and your journey grows and expands, you're always able to come back to these classes and reference them in a way that a paper crafter is talking to a paper crafter. So just common sense, down to earth, not over the top. Hopefully I give you easy explanations because that's how I need it to be sent to me. I'm not an artist. I didn't go to art school. I did not, and I it's not who I am. but yet I love what I do and I love what I can do with this product. So let's tilt on down. First off, I want to say the brushes that you're going to use, no matter if you're using the paint or the ink, you need to use brushes that are not your fusion brushes. We are not playing with fusion brushes today. I've got some Crafters and Companion brushes that I've had for quite some time. We sold them for a while, and you need to be sure that you clean your brushes out thoroughly, because this will dry hard, and because it is waterproof, once it's dry, your brush will be as stiff as can be and you cannot rinse it out. So please don't grab your beautiful fusion watercolor brushes and use it with these. I am gonna grab some mixed media paper. I'm not gonna play with watercolor paper, it's not necessary. These do not make great watercolors. You can use them with water, absolutely, but they do not move or blend like a watercolor generally does. I'm just gonna cut off my edges. They are not as absorbent as a watercolor. They are permanent when dry, which means you can lay a color down, let it dry, and then lay another color over the top and it's not going to lift. All right, so let's take out maybe a little bit of a color here. And I've got a paint. Versus a liquid. Again, these two are not the same product. This is an ink, this is a paint. The binder is what makes them similar. The binder is the acrylic. That is that thermoplastic. It's in both of them, but this is a paint, this is an ink. So let me get my brush a little wet. And I'm only going to get my brush wet enough to move some of the product. I'm not trying to use it as a watercolor. So first off, you can see the viscosity it's different. I mean, this is not moving. And if I let this sit and dry, it would dry just like this, and that would be the shape that I have. I can take my paintbrush and paint with it and get a beautiful color. There we go. So there's my paint. Clean up my brush. Now let's look at my ink. And I didn't see if these are the same colors, I just grabbed some. First off, you have to shake them. Your pigment is going to sit at the bottom of your jar, so you must give it some shake. You must. I'm going to see if I can find one that's got, see the pigment. The pigment sits at the bottom of the jar. So to get that pigment up is to shake it. And if you need to, you can, I'm gonna see if that's gonna change. No. If you need to, you can open your bottle and maybe stick the back of a paintbrush in there to stir it if for some reason the pigment is not moving. But you wanna give it a nice shake. Now that's gonna create some bubbles at the top. And that's okay. But where our paint didn't move, now we've got an ink that is incredibly different. So my paintbrush with just the tiniest bit of water, I just want to move my ink. Oh, they are the same color. Happy day for me. So I almost have too much there. Let's see if I can see which color I'm using. This is my I can't read it. That's okay. I think they're the exact same color. So one, a paint, one, an ink. And this shows you how the colors, even though they're different products, look exactly the same. Exactly the same. It's about the hyperfluid acrylic in here and how this works as an ink. Now the viscosity of it is a little bit thicker than an Ecoline watercolor, but obviously dramatically different than the paint. Can you mix these colors? They don't mix as well as a watercolor because they're really not meant to. You can mix them a little bit, and we're going to get into that maybe in next week's class. They are fast drying, a matte finish, and beautiful in their color. So while the colors look the same, you can even feel the difference of the product. This is thicker. It has you can feel a little bump when you get to it, that it's raised, it's heavier. Whereas the ink, it's flat. You feel nothing when you put your fingers right over it. Here you feel that raised element where that ridge is. Here, nothing. So let's swatch a few colors. And I've pulled some colors to play with. I have 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's just swatch some colors. So I've got my Sizzix Maker's tape going down. And let's start with our orange. And I can either work from my palette. I've got my tearaway palette here. Best thing since sliced bread. Oh, okay, so I think I'm gonna tear this one away. You get 20 sheets, and they last and last and last. You just keep wiping off what you put down. So you can work from a palette, you can work from the jar, you can work from the pipette. Good shake. And hopefully my brush is somewhat clean. And you want to make sure that you clean your brush out really well when you're done, because just like any acrylic, that plastic is going to dry and it's going to become permanent. A couple little drops. And then look at the richness of the color. And then let's put down the pink. Now typically I would be blending, but here I'm not using these as blending colors. Can they blend? Yeah, kinda, sorta. Okay, so we've got the orange, we've got the green. Let's put down the green. Give it a good shake. And I'm just using mixed media paper. This is the Van Gogh mixed media paper, which means it's great for watercoloring, it's great for markers, it's great for soft pastels, it's great for oils. It has a little bit of everything for all different types of mediums. It's a really forgiving paper. Yes, I picked my favorite colors. I don't know, there's 56 colors. It was hard. I have probably 20 colors on my table right now. Sitting here looking at me saying, use me, use me. So I want to give it a really good shake. Probably should put the purple up there, but okay. No odor, easy cleanup. Soap and water is what you clean this up with. I could add water to thin them out if I wanted to. I chose not to. And as my colors dry, now I know you're saying, Stacey, Okay, they're beautiful. I get it, but I don't get it. I understand. I didn't get it either until I got it. So as these dry, I'm going to give these a moment to dry. And in the meantime, I'm going to come over and I'm going to add maybe I just do half. Or maybe I do the whole. I'm going to add some color to my palette. And a brayer. Then maybe I add a little bit of orange. Now, can you see that I can still see through? I've got a transparency to it. If this was my acrylic paint, this would have colored and it would have been opaque and pretty much done. Just one color, that's all you would see. It wouldn't have that transparency. Now can you see that it's laying on top of my pink? It's not picking my pink up. My pink isn't going to move. It's laying on top of my pink. And between the two colors, a third color emerges. Ooh, I don't know about this one, but we're going to try it. So where those dots are, where those individual little elements of texture that have been put down with the brayer, they're going to stay there. These colors are not going to move into each other. They're going to lay on top of each other. And whatever is underneath is going to remain. Whatever textural element or whatever design is underneath is then going to remain. And this is where these separate themselves out from anything else I've used to date. This is where, I guess, what do they say, where the dirt meets the road? Not the prettiest of water, but it's more the cup than the water. So they don't move at all. Not even a little bit. Once they're there, they are there. Now, you may be going, oh, okay, yes, I see that, Stacey, but what is the point behind it? That is where, this is the key. Where watercolor, we want it to move, we want it to blend, we want it to melt into something else. This offers something watercolor can never give you. Ever. When I started to play and understand that if I lay, do I want to lay a little bit? If I lay a color down, I want to build this color up. It's not going to move on me. Once it's dry, it's up to me what I want to do next with it. And if I want to add other elements that require water, I don't have to worry about my bottom layer. It is pretty mesmerizing. So I challenge you to think so far outside the box. What could we do if we had ink that didn't move? What elements could we play with? How could we utilize it to make it more than just an ink? And it is a pigment-based ink, so it is highly saturated in color. The colors are absolutely magnificent. I need a yellow. I know, you're like, a yellow? Yeah, a yellow. So all the little textural lines that my brayer is leaving behind are going to stay there no matter what I put on top of it. And look at the colors lay into each other. All the things that we can do now that we know Once it's dry, it doesn't move. This has now been wet and it's dry, and I can get it wet again. I can also come in and lay more color over the top. It's this concept of not moving that so intrigued me and had my brain literally writing down idea after idea after idea of how we are going to use this in our world, our paper crafting world. They dry fast, they dry matte, cleanup is easy, it is just soap and water. They are resistant to moisture. They will adhere to almost everything you want to paint on, only it's not paint. It's an ink. It behaves differently than the paint. It is the viscosity. Oh, that's a good one. Let me show you. The viscosity is different. That's a good one. The thing that makes it acrylic is that thermoplastic, that binder. Both the paint and the ink have the binder, but that's where the similarities kind of stop. So let's take and completely different look. And then let's take some red. So we're not doing apples to apples. The ink and the paint, they both have uses. They both have their applications. Could I thin this paint out? Sure. Add a little water to it and thin it out, but that isn't going to change it to an ink. It's going to make it a thinner paint. So the paint behaves differently than the ink. It's going to feel different, it's going to look different, it's going to dry different. And there are things that you can do with the ink that are not as easy to do with the paint. And that's where we're going to move to in the next few weeks. We're going to put the paint, well, I might keep this handy just so I can do apples, show you the difference between the two if I were to use them both. But I want you to think, how would I use something if I could lay down a color and then get it wet and nothing would move? And the viscosity is that where it acts like an ink, it's thin like an ink. I have options like an ink. So Amsterdam acrylic inks, they are not a paint, and the paint is not an ink. The reason they both have acrylic in their name is because of the binder that they both use, which is a binder that is a thermoplastic similar to like a plexiglass. So while they do share several traits in common, they also give you a much different opportunity depending on what you're doing with them. We have a whole month to play. With all the different colors that I have for you. And I've got, well, we've got all 56 colors right now. But I think when you see, I hope when you see what I have planned for you, and Royal Talons has no idea what I have planned for you. I'm not paid by them. I don't get an affiliate fee from them. I just get the opportunity to learn from them and then share it with you. So your challenge again is like, okay, what could I do if I had something that didn't move? We're so used to playing with things that do move, but can this move? So I am Stacey, and this is our In the Studio with Stacey. We're starting October off for a whole month series on acrylic inks, Amsterdam Acrylic Inks by Royal Talons. I am a brand ambassador for them, but I call it as I see it. A brand ambassador just means I get to learn more about the product and share it with you. How I interpret the product and how maybe another brand ambassador interprets the product are probably completely different, because my perspective is a paper crafter's perspective. And my questions sometimes to Jeff and others are odd questions because they don't come from our world. We may pull them into our world when I'm all said and done with this, but for now, I am taking this and looking at it through my eyes, your eyes. How do we make this something more than what it is, and the quality so much higher than what we currently have available to us? So next week we start. I'll do a little more education next week, a little recap, but we play. So all 56 colors are available at Scrapbooking Made Simple, and we have them on sale. However, I recommend if you have a fine art store, an actual independent fine art store, go visit them first, say hello, introduce yourself, and if you don't, and yes, I know it can be intimidating. Okay, let me be clear. I get it. I am a brand ambassador for one of the highest, most well-respected fine art companies in the world, and I'm a paper crafter. Yes, I understand it's intimidating to walk into a group of people where I don't understand what they understand. I don't have the background, the education, the history. I just have that creative spark that has to come out. So I get it. But give that art store a chance anyway. Introduce yourself. Tell them you're a paper crafter, but you have been learning about fine art product and you want to know more. They will be thrilled to have you in their store. And then if you don't have a local fine art store, shop a small independent online store. There are a few really big online out there. I mean, really big, and yes, maybe their prices might be a little bit less, but they're not the ones who are gonna, stick with the small independents, because they value you more than anything in the entire world. And when you call them, chances are they're gonna pick up the phone, and you're not gonna go through you know, press 1, press 2, press 3. You're going to talk to a real live person. So next week we start. I'm excited. I can't wait. I hope that you see the benefit in these classes. Even if the product isn't for you, I hope you stick around and watch, because you just don't know what you don't know. So it's me, Stacey. I'll see you next week. The next time I see you is actually Thursday for our next New For You event. And I think it is simple and basic. So I will be back at 6 p.m. sunny California time, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern for our next New For You event, where we do bring you the latest and greatest from your favorite paper crafting manufacturers, all value priced from the get-go. Thanks for being here today. I can't wait to share with you October. I think we all are going to learn more than a thing or two. All right, you guys, have a good one. Bye, everybody.